welcome to Entertain This. It's a podcast about movies, TV shows, and video games. My name is Tom. With me I have Mitch and a very well-known man. A man known for playing a doctor. Is he really a doctor? No,
is that a question?
I feel like you deserve an honorary doctorate for playing a doctor.
Oh, please. I feel like I've basically been a doctor for the last 15 years in terms of the way people respond who like the show. I've been asked at airports to examine family members' arms and legs.
I was just about to ask you if anybody really thought you... It's like, hey, since you're here, though, could you take a look at this?
Literally, it's happened. I mean, there's so many people who love House, and so it's always wonderful to have the response. But every now and then you get the person who sort of thinks that you might be a real doctor, and it's a little bit unnerving, but that's okay.
it's like, it's a show. It's fiction. Please tell me you know.
I don't know. You're in back then. You're in people's living rooms. I mean, that's the joy of TV, is that you feel very connected, and sometimes I guess a little too connected.
Well, I would be remiss to not introduce our guest, Mr. Peter Jacobson, a man well known for playing Dr. Chris Taub on House with Hugh Laurie, a very popular show that ran for many years. Also on the science fiction drama Colony. Dozens of acting credits in film and television, including both series iterations of the show Bull.
That's right.
I feel like you deserve an award for being on both.
I know. Yeah, I think 20 years apart, different networks, obviously. But if there's a show that's called Bull, I'll be on it.
He's one of our more academically impressive interviewees we've had on our show, graduating from Brown and Juilliard. The closest I could ever get to Brown would be if they hired me to landscape.
Believe me, when I went, there was no great academic feat getting in. Brown is known for their loosey-goosey curriculum, and I think I just finessed my way in somehow. But I'll take the compliment and the feeling of being elite, even though it's not real.
Still Ivy League, still counts. The closest I ever got was a shirt that said Harvard Law, and underneath it said, "Just kidding."
I just wear clothes with the color brown. It makes me feel good. That's it.
Well, we have a very special treat for you today, listeners. We have Mr. Peter Jacobson, like we said, and we're going to do a little dive into his background, how he got into the acting game, and what really made him just want to play a doctor on TV.
It wasn't as... I don't think I ever really thought, I want to play a doctor. Doctor roles came somewhat easily to me, like lawyer roles. Mm-hmm. You get typecast in this business. So it wasn't a stretch for me to be a doctor. But the audition came my way. And it felt like a really great fit. Taub and I, or Taub and me. See, I did go to Brown, but my grammar stinks. I wasn't in the business of being too picky. Whether I wasn't like, I got to play a doctor. And it's just the bottom line is that this doctor on this show was going to be fun. I mean, obviously, House was a huge hit already. I was joining a little bit later, so I knew what House was, and obviously, it was going to be a doctor on the show with a chance of becoming a regular. And the script was so great. The role was already really compelling and interesting and snarky and somewhat mysterious is too strong a word. Somewhat secretive, and I just loved the role on the page. So I was happy. He could have been a doctor, a lawyer. Worked in the Department of Streets and Sanitation. I was happy to play it.
Now, as an actor, is it a little bit more of a challenge where you step into a main role that's... Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you now. As an actor, go ahead.
As an actor, is it difficult taking a role on an already established hit show? And hey, you're going to be a series regular, and you're going to be acting opposite Hugh Laurie and all these other people who've already made the show.
It's a really good question. That was a totally unique experience. Any actor who's worked a fair amount in TV has a lot of experience coming on as a guest star, which means, you jump in, like with House, you'd be the patient of the week. Mm-hmm. And that's always sort of a really fun experience on a great show like House. I mean, we had so many great actors who wanted to be on it because it was such a well-written show and it was such a hit. But when you come on for one episode, it's really exciting, but there's also a bit of a feeling of disconnect because you're not a regular, so you're not as part of it. Mm-hmm. It's always great fun to do it, and it's part of how we make our money and get to play interesting roles. I had never been joined in midstream, which is your question. And certainly that season was weird. We were given contracts, the four of us were meant to be the five of us were meant to be the finalists in that weird sort of real life survivor game. And we were told that after 9 episodes, they would make a decision. So you knew you had a season to sort of establish yourself, but it was a bit of a weird sort of dogfight. I mean, in the best way. We were all had a lot of fun and loved each other, but we knew it was a weird competition. And it was certainly intimidating as hell to come on when Hugh, who is just this sort of, wonderful, fabulous actor and comedian and just a great man, but it's a big show at the moment. I think it was the most popular show on the planet at that point. And so there is an intimidation factor. You don't want to mess things up. You want to try to be part of the gang, but you're not really yet. And eventually when I made it, by then I had, a whole season under my belt. And so the next season as a regular felt really comfortable and lovely. But it was weird. You're jumping on a barreling freight train that's already as an actor, you want that, actually. You want to get on something and become part of something that's already established hit. But the guy, like Omar and Jesse and Jennifer and Lisa, everybody, they spent 3 years making this show. So there's a certain level of gratitude as well. We're like, wow, I just kind of got lucky to get on this thing. And
you obviously hit every mark you had to because you got 96 episodes to your name.
Yeah, I did it all right. It was really a weird experience. It was like I was waiting to literally get fired. And I think one of the advantages with those of us who made it, somehow I think the writers clicked into our characters. And I mean, they click into any character, but you can tell as an actor, if you've been doing it for a while, when the writing sort of speaks to you and they got to know me and they were writing to my strengths. And I certainly didn't think, oh yeah, I've got this made, but I felt like the character had really sort of expanded and deepened by the time I got to the point where they were making their choice. And I wouldn't have been surprised if I didn't get it, but I wasn't shocked that I got it. It just felt like it was a real good vibe, and it felt pretty comfortable.
It was an overall, just a natural kind of transition, I guess you could say.
Well, certainly it was once I got picked. I was thrilled. I tried not to look like too much of an idiot. When they said cut. But you just never know how these decisions get made are a mystery still after 30 years in the business. It felt like the role made sense, and sort of the fun stuff that they had going with me and how, Hugh, Taub, I think more than a lot of these characters was picked on a lot. And that was sort of a really fun thing to play. And the writers kind of began to lean into that. Somehow my character just begged to be teased. I don't know why. Maybe it's me. I think it's me.
So I'm looking at your vast acting credits, starting in 1993 on television when you appeared on NYPD Blue and multiple iterations of Law and Order, and then your first acting credit into a film, also playing a reporter. It Could Happen to You in the 1994 film. So you start your career here in the early 90s, graduating Brown, Juilliard, you're from Chicago. What made you want to be an actor?
It's funny because you're right, my first TV role was a reporter and my first film role was a reporter. And my father was a news anchorman. I started out as a reporter and was a sort of pushy, successful political reporter in Chicago for years. And I grew up with him on TV. And I would often go with him to work when I was a kid, and he'd have to get makeup on. And, there's a certain drama. So, he was doing live broadcasts, and it was an open newsroom back in the 70s in Chicago. It was sort of this revolutionary idea. And so I was sort of always around that and watching him sort of, even though he's a journalist, perform live and on his feet and having, getting makeup and taking it on and taking it off. And somehow that was something that seemed really, romantic and fun to me as a kid. So when I knew growing up that I wanted to be an actor, it felt like sort of a natural thing to me. It wasn't like looking so outside the box. And then it was sort of sweet for me when I wound up a reporter. It was kind of neat because I was like, well, I can remember watching my dad with a microphone in his hand and shoving a microphone in front of people's faces, and that's what I basically did my first 2 roles. And then recently this year, I played a very pushy reporter on this movie, Fly Me to the Moon, and I drew on my knowledge of my dad and watching him for my whole life as a reporter.
Already drawing on great, vast personal experiences.
Yeah, I think so. And, whether it made me want to be an actor, I spent my years in high school and college and after college at Juilliard really being serious about acting. And I started out in the theater. And when I got out of Juilliard, I spent, 7 or 8 years acting on the stage. And then as TV work began to come from the West, I began flying out and doing more TV and film. And then TV kind of hit a little bit more. And then the house sort of put me in a different place. And suddenly I'm doing that instead of theater. And I kind of miss it.
Well, I was going to kind of ask you, for your theater roles, you've done several like big plays. With, I guess, were they on Broadway?
We'll be right back.
Ever wondered what a rhythm-based stealth game with dinosaurs might look like? Or a farming sim in space with zombies? Welcome to the Gaming Blender podcast. I'm Matt, and with my co-host Scott, we take a random game genre and random game mechanics, blend them all up, and pitch wild, totally hypothetical games you've never heard of, and maybe shouldn't. New episodes every other week. Hit play and unleash your inner game dev. No coding required. Search the Gaming Blender on your favorite podcast app now.
I never actually had the chance to be on Broadway in a full production. I did a Broadway, like a workshop musical actually with something called Circus long ago, and Anne Hathaway was just becoming a star. It was funny because I wound up playing her father in this Apple Plus series a couple of years ago, and I was too embarrassed to say, hey, about 20 years ago, we were in something I didn't think you'd remember. Now I'm your dad. But my theater was almost all off-Broadway and somewhat regional. The difference in Broadway and off-Broadway is just the size of the theater itself. If it's a 2,000-seat house, then your Broadway, you get a different pay scale, and there's way more off-Broadway in New York. But some of the better, sort of like network and cable now, or streaming. Off-Broadway always felt a little more experimental, and you could push the envelope a little bit more. Broadway was a little bit more commercially oriented. So I did a lot of really fun, interesting plays, worked with some great people, was very steeped in the theater community for years in New York, and I just love that. I mean, that's what I was trained to do, what I thought I would do, and but that became my world right out of school.
Okay. Was it a difficult transition, or was there a noticeable transition going from theater acting into acting on film or acting in television?
It's huge, and I was totally unprepared for it. In that, I think now when you are going to acting school, somehow they've just sort of figured it out that it doesn't make sense to be training actors and not make a significant part of the training be for film and TV, because it is a totally different experience than on stage. Ultimately, the process is the same mentally for an actor. You are creating a character, you are in a relationship with somebody, you are learning a script, and there's the circumstances of your scene need to be considered, and that's true on stage and on film. But the actual physical experience is so much different on film and TV, and your impulses need to be reined in. A big smile for 2,000 people on the stage, which is what you need to do. You look like an idiot on film if you're doing that. and for the first few years that I was auditioning for things, I was auditioning for TV and film while I was on stage, but nothing was hitting. I think I needed to learn by myself to sort of bring everything down, tone it down, and you can get away with just a thought and a twinkle in the eye and a grin. It sells so much more. The camera picks up everything. Plus, just, acting with a microphone in your face and, 50 people in front of you messing with your clothes, and, you have to really learn how to focus in a different way. But my theater training was all broader and for the stage. And at Juilliard back in the late 80s and early 90s, they didn't take the time to teach you any film acting skills. And so it took me a while to learn how to sort of calm down and not look like a clown.
I imagine the transition's tough. I've seen other interviews where actors talk about their theater life, and it's like, you go out there, there's thousands of people, hundreds of people, they're all just staring at you. They're all right, like just eating out of the palm of your hand. And then you act on film, and it's like there's a guy eating a sandwich just looking at you.
That's great. You got him eating out of your hand, and there's somebody eating a sandwich. Literally, the distractions are hysterical sometimes in TV or film. I mean, people, you literally have to sort of shut yourself down to the outside world. And on stage, it's the opposite. You are sort of expanding your energy and doing it live. I had the joy of going back to a play after it had been over 10 years. This is about 3 years ago. I did this play in L.A. that Ethan Coen of the Coen brothers, great filmmakers. Ethan is also a playwright, a wonderful playwright, and he did this play as a bunch of one acts, and I got to be in that. And it had been 10 years since I'd been on stage, and So I had to first sort of remember to generate more energy. But once I got back into the live experience, I remembered the joy of that. And, when you're rolling on stage and you're getting laughs, and it's a completely different experience. And you're really out there in a way, the cast is sort of always bonds over the terror of acting. That you're out there together.
Bonding.
And yes, exactly. And things happen, and you're sort of, it's either you make it, you get out there and you live through the performance, or, you forget your lines, which I now do more than I used to because I'm basically an old man. It's a different experience, and there's a certain bond for over the live theater. You also rehearse it for a month, and that's a whole different experience than in TV and film, where you don't really get much rehearsal. You kind of jump in. There's something very bonding about the live theater, which I missed, and it was a real joy to come back to it.
I don't think I could do live theater. Me having like a little bit of stage fright, because I'll be, do I forget my lines? Am I wearing the appropriate costume? Because I know me, I would take parts of it off to go to the bathroom if I wasn't up there, and I would just walk out there without pants on. And they'd be like, what are you doing?
I've never gone that far, but it is a weird thing. Yes, there is something terrifying. A little bit of stage fright goes a long way, and it can roll onto itself. And then suddenly you've got a little bit of a blackout going. But hopefully your muscle memory is so great. It is scary. I have sweated through some pretty scary moments. And weirdly, what I remembered was, I would make sure to go to the bathroom before I went on. And, I'm not so old. I don't have such a prostate issue that I'd have to go to the bathroom every 30 seconds. But somehow I would feel like I had to go again, 30 seconds later. And whether or not your fly is up, I could check my fly. Maybe this isn't right for your audience, but you check your fly as I'm walking to my entrance. I check, it's up, it's good. And then my first thought as I'm walking on 4 seconds later is my fly up? It's just sort of this weird paranoia. It's I know it's up. I just checked it. It's going to go down on its own. It's just the anxiety of live theater. Yes, it makes you wonder about your fly.
It's is my fly up? Is it down? Do I have a booger in the cave?
Exactly.
Do I have salad in my teeth? I didn't eat salad. Did it get there somehow?
Right. That's essentially the same thing. I miraculously got a lot of spinach in my mouth. I don't know how it would have happened because I didn't have a salad. So, but I never was as worried as you said, that my pants would not be there, but certainly whether the fly would be up. And I understand why you would have that worry, having not sort of, well, maybe you have acted. Did you act in high school?
No, I did not. I mean, I acted up. That's really about it.
Okay.
We've done a couple of live shows. We normally do one once a year, locally, and then we've done one. We did the Aurora Theater here locally, and we did a Halloween presentation where we reviewed a movie, and we kind of comically talked about the scenes and stuff like that.
It was bad. It was bad.
Come on. Yeah, something either good or something really bad comes out when you're live. And it's that crapshoot that some people love and some people really don't.
And some of our other ones have been good. Not the Halloween. We don't talk about that one. That was
now I want to see that.
Well, see,
ultimately, when you look back, that's the great stuff. Is how bad was I?
Well, see, for the Halloween one, it couldn't have been too bad because people were allowed to drink in the theater. So the drunker they got, the funnier we were. So
yeah.
Well, the problem
that's how it is.
Was Mitch, our third co-host. He's not here. He's currently in Iraq, part of the army. But they were selling Beetlejuice, hunch punch, I guess you could say. And the two of them are just getting blitzed out of their mind. And I'm normally the stronger constitution person with drinking, unfortunately, based on my collegiate experiences. And the two of them are just sloshed, and I'm like, damn it, I gotta go out with you two. It was like herding cats.
I did all my parts correctly. I'm just saying.
Right. But you also had somebody in charge. And
right.
By having someone in charge, we didn't have anyone.
I was doing a play where part of it was at one of those a small theater in New York, and part of the thing was I would go into the audience and sit with the audience for a stretch of about 40 minutes. And one night I dozed off and I woke up probably 30 seconds later. But because I had been unconscious, essentially, I had no idea if I had missed my entrance to come back onto it. And I just remember the jolt of electricity and terror was pretty strong. So, never would occur to me to drink and do that. That would have been even worse. But I know what it's like to be terrified.
Well, more recently in the more recent years, you've done stuff more, I guess, kind of sci-fi and horror as far as you were on Colony, because you were on Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
What made you, did you choose to go towards that, or did your agent just kind of get you the roles, or is that something you've kind of pursued as more sci-fi or horror genre stuff?
No, it was an interesting question. Like with, you say, did I want to play that doctor? I wanted to play that role, and I was not looking to be on a doctor show. Same thing. This has been sort of an interesting little twist. I also got a chance to be on the Star Wars show, the Ahsoka, for an episode, and yeah, Fear the Walking Dead. The script comes your way. I certainly don't say to my agents, I won't do this, or I want to only do this. If a script, they send me hopefully really good roles and good scripts. And Fear the Walking Dead was already, again, like with House, was, on the air and a hit, and had its audience, and they were, adding characters. And this was a really interesting character. And I have no problem being on a horror film, or, I had so much fun killing zombies. I mean, I love it. I'm just I'm game for different genres. And in Ahsoka, I was, I had a droid, like a C-3PO droid. It was amazing. I grew up on Star Wars. My son was the next generation of Star Wars, and so he was obviously thrilled when I got on that. And it's just great. And Colony was a little bit further ago, but that was a really, really wonderful sci-fi, future Armageddon kind of show, and with aliens, and Carlton Cuse and Ryan Condal, who's now doing House of the Dragon. These were great writers, and they had just had a great concept, and I love being in that world. The best thing about the best sci-fi and horror stuff is, again, always, like anything, grounded in real humans and real relationships. And Colony, this character I played, was so real and so fun. And, I tried to make the rabbi in Fear the Walking Dead as real as I could be, and the writing was great, and I got to stab and shoot zombies along the way, so I loved it.
And another question I had for you is, you've played a lot of, intense scenes and stuff, but your character always seems to bring a little bit of comedy to those situations. Is that more your personality, or is that more the writing that they give you?
Well, it's interesting. That stuff kind of merges sometimes, and you don't really know which comes first. It's a little bit of a chicken egg thing. I think on House, over the years, the seasons, the writers began to see that, well, I can certainly, hold my own and play, the drama of it, which is probably why I was there in the first place. I'm a goofy guy. I think I bring a certain sort of levity to a lot of situations, and they start to use that to their advantage in the scenes and in the sort of the mix of characters in the House. I found that sort of became, calling card is a hard thing to say, because you just never know in this business. Suddenly, I'm being a clown, and next thing I'm, only doing drama. But I would say if there's one theme that has stuck for me with characters over the years, it's that I can bring kind of a light, fun, devilish something to a very serious situation. And I don't know what that says about me. That's probably my friends and family would say, yeah, you're never actually too serious, Dad. And it works for me, and has helped pay the bill. So I'm happy.
Well, because I was going to say, in your Star Wars character, when you were sitting there being questioned, your guy, he does a really good job of trying to be serious, but then he's you could tell he's nervous, so he's kind of a little fidgety. And
Yeah. So that I believe me. That's actually, if I was going to say there's one thing that has helped me get work, it's the fidget and the nervous and the anxiety. that I do know I have in abundance, and I let it rip. I get cast, and there it is. I think in some ways, if you need a nervous or an anxious guy, then probably somebody somewhere is thinking of me, and I'm grateful for that.
Now, I'm sorry, I had not watched Fear the Walking Dead. I think I watched the first episode when that show first came out, however long ago it was.
I've watched the whole thing.
And I know you've watched all of it.
Well, there are a lot of them now. I mean,
there's a lot of spin-offs.
There was Walking Dead, and then Fear, I think, was the first spin-off. Now they've got one that's a lot of the kids, and it's a whole universe that the characters are in and out, and there's a big fan base for that show. They love that show, but it's a particular taste.
For your character, I think you did, 10 episodes on Fear the Walking Dead?
Yeah, I think so, over a few seasons.
I don't know if we're doing a spoiler reveal. What happens to your character? Do you get eaten by zombies? Do you get shot by some other survivor?
Well, I will not. I mean, Fear has been done shooting for a year or so, but because of streaming, anybody can pick it up. So I will not spoil what happens to me, but I'm no longer on it. So, but how I become no longer on it, I'll leave up to the audience. There's some dramatic events as the series winds to a close, and I am indeed swept up in that.
You get eaten by a zombie.
I don't get it. I don't get it. Come on, I survived.
Because I liked how in Fear the Walking Dead, your character was introduced being like the rabbi that, I mean, I guess he kind of failed his communion, or I don't know what you call him. Your group.
You're mixing religions here.
Sorry. The group that you lead.
Jews don't do communion. Come on.
God, Mitch, get it together.
Sorry.
Come on, Mitch.
The group that you're in charge of, basically, they kind of perished. So then your character is introduced that way as someone that's just trying to continue to find his way. So I thought it was really good.
Yeah. It was very dramatic. That's what I loved about when I read the script. He's a rabbi, and he has a synagogue and a community of people who go to the temple, and they've all perished, and I've got them all locked away in the temple, and so you don't realize that he's living, he's being a rabbi alone, and that he's struggling. This is the good part as an actor, that he really was struggling with the tragedy of losing his whole, what you would say in the church is parish, I guess, his whole community.
Congregation.
And that's sort of his congregation, exactly. Thanks. Oh, my grandmother would be so upset. I needed to practice that word. But yeah, and the great reveal in that episode is that, he's all by himself, and all of his congregation are zombies in the back room. And escaping that was both physically and mentally was a really fun thing to play.
I also wanted to just talk about one movie in particular that I saw, because as a fan of the New York Yankees, there's a great movie in here that lives in Yankees lore, and that's 61.
Oh, yeah.
For that movie, I mean, how'd you get brought into that production?
Well, congrats. I hope you guys make it to the World Series this year. First,
well,
the Yankees.
I hope so, because it's been quite a while since we've been back.
Yeah, although as growing up a Cubs fan, I can't feel too sorry for you, because we're sort of at opposite ends of the spectrum. My dad was a bat boy for the Cubs in 1952, which is a pretty cool thing as a Chicagoan. So I do feel very connected to baseball and the Cubs. But I'm a huge sports fan, so anytime, again, like with sci-fi getting to kill zombies, that's a really fun thing to do. Playing anything with sports is fun for me to do. I just auditioned for Billy Crystal when, just like everybody else, and somehow he, latched on to me a bit, and thought I'd be good in this part. Again, a pushy reporter, so maybe I've got that in my blood. He saw that, and I went through the audition process and just got it. I was so thrilled because, we were at the LA Coliseum shooting these sports scenes, and then in Detroit at the old not Comiskey, that's my Chicago, that's White Sox, the old Tiger Stadium, which had been abandoned, but they gussied it up to be the old Yankee Stadium. And it was just great. Yogi Berra came to the set, Mickey Mantle's family, and Billy Crystal was so passionate about that movie. It was right at the time when McGuire and Sosa had just, broken the records a season or two before. And so that was, it was a great, I mean, that's probably it was my first sort of decent role in a film, and I was in heaven the whole time. I love sports. I love baseball. And so to be around that was just a total joy. I loved it. And then, so, yeah, it's a movie that people really connected to. I mean, Billy just knew what he was doing, and it was his greatest love. I mean, he's a huge Yankee fan, and it was great. I also his daughter Jenny Foley. She was in it. She played Roger Maris's wife, so we sort of crossed paths a little bit in that movie. And then years later, she played my wife in House, which was really fun.
Really, kind of coming back full circle.
Yeah,
I guess
Jenny
we see people from back in the past, and then now they're along for the ride further on.
Totally, it's really fun. I mean, it's a huge group of people out there who are acting, and sometimes it feels really small. Even Lisa Edelstein, who was Dr. Cuddy in House, she and I had done a scene together in a movie 15 years earlier in New York, and As Good as It Gets with Jack Nicholson, and we just were introduced then, and then decades later, literally, we're on House together. It's very fun.
Did she recognize you?
No, I recognize her.
It's like, hey, I don't know if you know.
Yeah, we did this movie. She's like, who are you? No. I think she did. She remembered, because it was. We had this 3 days of doing this long restaurant scene with Jack Nicholson. She and I didn't really have any lines. He was reacting to us. We're, he's in this character as good as it gets, which he was nominated for an Oscar for. He's this crotchety old man, and he's anti-Semitic, and we're these two Jewish people at the table, and he's saying these anti-Semitic things, and we just had to really react. It was a fun scene, but it was a long scene that we shot over a few days, and we got to sort of sit there with Jack Nicholson for a couple of days. Just, there's a lot of downtime. And we just, he's so great and was just so lovely and warm and open and telling us about his life. And so that was an experience that neither of us ever forgot.
I wouldn't be able to act. I'd just be like, holy crap, it's Jack freaking Nicholson.
That is basically what happened to me.
Now, everybody kind of jokes. It's like, you'll be seeing him stand there. He won't have sunglasses on. Then you'll turn, look back, and he has them on. No one ever saw him, take them out. It's like they just appear.
Correct.
He thinks they're there.
They pop out. It's like Wolverine. They sort of just pop out of his temples in some weird superpower way.
Now, looking at all this other stuff that you've been in movies and shows for many years, even a video game credit for Cars.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my God, my son loved that. That was amazing. Yeah, that's cool.
When did you? I mean, as you worked your way through the hierarchy of acting and getting more roles, getting steady work, getting pitched a lot of stuff. Like, oh, hey, we saw you in this. What do you think about doing this? Like, when did you feel like you made it?
I think, except for that upper level, at least the people that I know, and I know a lot of people who have succeeded, her fabulous careers, and then people like me who, I feel like I have a fabulous career, but I'm more of a journeyman, and, not everybody knows who I am, and I can't just, I'm not getting movies made on my own. And then there are those who I've worked with who have struggled more to have a regular career, and all actors, and I think on most levels, rarely feel like they've made it. That's sort of one of the weird, tricky things of this business, where you make it for a certain amount of time and then you don't, because you can get hot, or you can, for whatever reason, you work for 2 straight years and then suddenly you're not working, and there's no real logic to it. So I felt there have been markers in my career over the years when I felt like, wow, I certainly have been bumped up to another level, and I think there is an overarching growth to my career, which I feel very blessed about and love it, and I work steadily, and that's great. But along the way, I would say things like House or 61 was probably one of those moments when I thought, whoa, I'm moving up. I've never, maybe it's just my anxious personality, I never feel like, boy, I've made it. And I don't know what making it really means. If having a career and making a living is making it, then yeah, I've done that. But in terms of being like a star or somebody who can generate projects on my own with my name power, then I've got a ways to go still. Cars 2 was one of those weird moments where I was on House and I got the offer. I didn't even audition, and doing a Pixar film was fabulous. And they knew who I was. People at Pixar, and put me and Joe Mantegna together as these two sort of funny bad guys. And when I got the script, I was like, wow, yes. They're like, do you want to do this? I'm like, yeah. And but the fact that I didn't audition felt like, oh, I have made it to a certain level here. I'm getting offered a Pixar film. That's a wonderful thing. So, but it goes up and down. When I'm not working for 6 months, 8 months, or a year, for whatever reason, at night I'm like, oh, have I really made it?
I mean, I feel like you have. I mean, looking at your crap, Transformers is on there, Cars 2.
Yeah. Well, moving on to kind of the meat and potatoes of why we're here today is the Smile 2 that comes out on October 18th. What was your thoughts when you landed a role with this movie?
I was very excited. First and foremost, because the character was just great, and I fell in love with him in my first read of the role. And then when I auditioned for him and put him on his feet and was called back to meet the director and read it with him, I just felt like this guy fits me really well, and I loved just the depth and the sadness and the anxiety of him. And he's sort of an odd duck in this world because he's not. I'm a bit of an outsider in this movie. Now, honestly, I'm not I had not seen the first one, and I'm not a horror film fanatic. I love a good movie and a good scary movie, but I had to go ahead and watch the first one when I was auditioning. Before I got the role, I went and watched the first one, and I was absolutely terrified, but in a good way. And, I know the difference between schlock and great filmmaking, and this, again, it's not something that I'm pro at in terms of horror, but I knew right away that this guy, Parker Finn, this guy knows how to make a movie. And I think that's what happened for him. He's a young guy who did this independent or short film that people saw, or Paramount did it, and suddenly it was a bit of a discovery. It's like, wow, this guy really knows what he's doing. And you can tell when you're in the hands of a filmmaker. And just watching Smile 1, the original Smile, was like just the movie angles, the shots, the way he moves the camera. I was like, this is a different kind of horror movie. And that's saying something because, believe me, the market is saturated with horror films and it's hard to break out. And he broke out with this and rightfully so, I think. And so I was excited that this was a good movie and the script was great. And sure enough, doing it, you're with a filmmaker who knows what he's doing. And even if terror and horror and gore and shock is not my strong suit at least in terms of my experience, it's great fun. And I love doing this new kind of movie. And, Naomi Scott was unbelievable. She's this young woman. She's British. I didn't know I knew her from, I guess she'd been in a Disney movie, but, she's also a fabulous singer. And our stuff was all together. I just had my stuff with her and she was such a pro and so good and carrying this film on her shoulders. So I was just like, wow, I'm going along for this great ride. And it's so scary and so fun and was thrilled to be on it.
Well, from a lot of the early reviews that I've kind of read over in different articles, they've talked about how it's already gotten pretty successful, just what people think are so far. After seeing the first one, what do you think makes this such a successful sequel?
Well, again, Parker instinctively writes very real people, and even though obviously what makes it a horror film is that it's not a kind of circumstance that we get every day. This is not a rom-com,
right.
Or it's not like The West Wing or whatever. This is not a naturalistic piece of work. But no matter how heightened or scary or crazy something is, it's always successful. The rule of thumb has to be that you believe these people and you believe their situations, and that comes from well-written characters in honest relationships and really well acted. And he knows how to get a good performance out of somebody, and he knows how to set real situations that we as the audience are going to get drawn into. So you've got real people. I remember Sosie Bacon in the first movie was fabulous. I mean, she sustained this terror for 2 hours. And I was like, that was a real feat. And you don't do that without a great director, a great script, great writing, and great crew, and great fellow actors. And so Parker's gathering this group for the first movie, and he just hit it out of the park. It's a very real. What's unique is it's a totally real people doing real things in a very unreal situation. So the creepy is deep because you're relating to these people. I mean, Sosie was just so real, and yet she's got this insane situation happening. And he's done it again, Parker, with the second one, just on a higher scale. It's just everything's elevated. It's universal now. It's just much bigger and scarier and more terrifying for more people. And I think he could go forever with this thing. It's great. Well, he's just up the ante.
I was going to say, seeing the first movie, it was really creepy, and it had a lot of kind of like the jump scares and stuff. And then I haven't seen the second one yet, but I've seen the trailer for it, and it feels like it does a lot more with your psychology as opposed to just what jumps out at you in this one.
Right, and that's the difference. When you're watching a movie, look, anybody can do a jump scare. I could even do it. Like I could probably do that, and I don't know how to do it. I'm not minimizing those who are great horror film directors. It's obviously not that easy, but I mean, it's an easy way to scare somebody. Mm-hmm. And Parker is smarter than that and has combined, and they're great horror films, and they all do this. They're jump scares, but they are even jumpier and scarier if you are connected to the people and the situation and the relationships. He's really taking the time to do that, to make sure these are real people. And so that's going to make the jump scare even greater. And I just think he knows that instinctively. And yes, in Smile 2, there are more, but they work because you are even that much more invested in the people in this film.
Okay. And then another question I had for you was, we talked about this earlier, you might not be able to tell us a whole lot, but what can you tell us about your character in this film?
Well, I can say that he's this sort of mysterious outsider who knows what's going on in terms of this terror, the Smile terror. And I cross paths with Sky, who is the star, Naomi, and I am, she's in a state. She's, this has taken a hold of her life, and I try to help her and to break the terror and to break the chain of the terror before it's too late. So, we know from the first movie this unbelievably malevolent and sinister force, and I somehow have knowledge and information that I'm going to try to help her through this. That's what I can say. But the film itself is relentless in this terror and in this scare, and in this sinister force. And what's kind of sweet about my character is that there's a little bit of a calm. He's there to help, and and that's part of what turned me on about the role. I was like, wow, this movie is terrifying, and yet I felt right away how real my guy is. Morris is a very real man and who's been through a lot, and he's there to help. And I like the sort of the sweet humanity of that in this terrifying situation.
Like I said, after seeing the trailer for this one and watching the first one, like the first one, it kind of leaves you on your edge of your seat because the threat can basically come from anyone, because it's kind of in the character's mind. So I'm interested to see how, because like in the trailer, you see her doing like her dancing on stage, and then like she sees somebody on the stage with her, and there's one where like she's in her dressing room and the guy's not there, and then she looks in the mirror and he's there. So
I don't watch too much horror. I like sleeping. I like sleeping at night.
I don't, but I'm doing it. But yeah, that's what was so great about the first one, is that the line between what's real and what's not, which is not something that's that's a pretty common theme in horror. But again, Parker does this so well. He does it in terms of story, and he does it technically as a filmmaker. You don't always know what's real, and when you're in a human's head of not knowing what's real, that's terrifying. And it's not just a jump scare, or is that real or not? You're coming at it from the character's perspective, and that's terrifying.
I was wondering what your take would be on this, because I'd seen a lot of other actors on it doing interviews talk about it, where they act in dramatic stuff, and they were like, they were so scared between takes. Like, it's very serious, and then they acted in a horror movie, and it's like, it was the most fun I ever had in my life.
Yeah, it is really fun. I mean, the stuff that I do with Naomi, and as our story, whatever part of the movie is our story, as that goes on, it gets more intense, and it's really fun. And for me, it wasn't scary. Let me tell you, what was scary was Naomi, because she's so committed and she's so real in this role, and she's so good that when you're playing the scene, that terror is real. I'm watching a young woman that terrified, and that's Naomi as an actress, and she's fabulous. But when they say cut, yeah, you've got, again, 200 people around you, and you might hit you in the ear, and then somebody's, picking their nose in the corner, and we're back to work. So it didn't really scare me. Scariest part was that because the lighting was also really great. I mean, Parker he's got a great team, and this is a terrifying looking film. There were a couple of moments when I couldn't find my mark in the dark. So I was scared of that. I wasn't scared of the dark. I was scared I was not going to hit my mark, and then we got to do it again, and then I'm pissing everybody off. So that was the scariest part.
It's like, we get another guy in here. We need somebody else who can find these marks.
Believe me, that's always there.
But they need you, because otherwise you're going to get your 8th Oscar for this one, obviously.
Yes, that's right. That's right. We're gonna get on Wikipedia together after this interview and fix some things.
I want to make an account just so we can edit. It's like he's also the person. He's the first person to ever land on Mars. He can divide by 0.
Right. That's right.
We're just going to bestow you all these laurels.
Fine, man. A couple Nobel Prizes, I'll take it.
I mean, you're the only one I've ever seen who has 7. It's absolutely wild.
It's getting scary.
Looking at all these people you've obviously acted with, I have one question, and I know everybody's probably like, well, you guys are going to talk about House. You guys are probably going to talk about Hugh Laurie. And I know people who have thought Hugh Laurie was actually an American, but knowing what I know, he's English. And you see him in House, serious, they're sardonic, sarcastic, witty. And then you watch him in Blackadder, and he's just a bumbling imbecile.
Yeah.
And you want,
Hugh is. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Is he like that? Which version, I guess, would you say is he like normally?
He's got both of them, and that's what's amazing. I mean, Hugh is first and foremost an amazing actor, and he is an amazing clown. And again, he's not just goofy. His work, even his bumbling clown work, is so grounded and so real because he's such a great actor. That's why he's an exceptional comedian and an exceptional dramatist. I mean, not dramatist, he's not a writer. He's an exceptional dramatic actor. And House was, again, he brought his twinkle to House, who was a very dramatic role. But, as well, what made him so successful was that he's he brings his comedy to it. But the comedy comes after the reality, and that's what makes him so funny. Hugh, as a person, is the funniest and smartest person you'll meet, and he's very serious, and he had a huge show to make work, and we all knew we were doing that, and the bar was set incredibly high, and at the same time, he's the most clever and the funniest person you'll ever meet, and at any moment, that was there. So it was sort of a big jumble of Hugh talent, and just a joy to be with.
Makes me happy to hear that. Because people
great.
see these actors and it's just like, oh, what are they like in real life? You see posts on Facebook all the time. It's like 10 actors I met who were total dicks. And it's like, and they're these renowned people. And I was like, there's no way Hugh Laurie's a dick. I was like, I saw this dude in Blackadder, a little bit of Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie. Like, there's no way.
No way at all. I mean, that's not to say I wasn't scared of him when I first met him because, first of all, he's like twice my height and size, but but that happens to me a lot. I'm smaller than just about everybody. No, he wasn't physically intimidating. He was just like, that's Hugh Laurie, and this is house. And so I was scared in that regard. But, Hugh was, again, he set the bar so high. But you don't have a show like that successful with the dick at the helm. You can't. Number one on the cost, you got to set the tone, and you've got to, you're essentially. He's not writing the thing, but he's running the thing. It's his show, and it's his game. And if he's not pleasant and wonderful, then everybody's miserable for 8 years. And he was fantastic. I mean, it's a family, and it's a rigorous bit of work. And so over the years that I was on it, there are moments when there are tantrums and there are things happen. Serious, not serious, but it's hard work. And so there are certainly stressful moments, but all of it was ultimately, you have to have people in charge who are people at the top who are setting the tone and doing it right and are friendly and loving and caring, and that's you.
We always like to ask actors this question when we have them on, especially if they have quite a substantial amount of acting credits, if they ever had a good starstruck moment. And one of my favorites was a guy we interviewed a couple months ago, was on Walker, Texas Ranger, and he got to meet Chuck Norris and fight him and get his butt kicked by Chuck Norris. And he's like, the whole time I was just smiling. He's roundhouse kicking me in the face. I'm like, this is great. It's Chuck Norris.
Well, you got to meet Chuck Norris and Flash Gordon at the same time.
Yeah, it was a double whammy.
Wow, I don't know that I could act in that situation. I was starstruck by Hugh initially, and then there were moments throughout House when we had scenes together, and he's given me hell, and we're shooting me with a ray gun, or there were so many great fun scenes, and I was never without, even though he becomes your friend. There were so many moments when I was like, wow, I am sure lucky getting to do this with you. This is Hugh, this is House, and I'm doing it. And it's great fun. But then even something like with Jack Nicholson, where I don't really have any lines, and it's only a few days. Yeah, I was lucky I didn't have lines because I wouldn't have been able to remember them because I was with Jack Nicholson.
So no, just major starstruck moment. You're just saying like, holy crap, that's Michael Caine or so-and-so. Yeah.
Well, Robert De Niro, I did a movie called What Just Happened, and my scene was Robert De Niro, and we had like a walk and talk where we're arguing about the movie, and yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm distracted, but it's rare that you can find an actor who can be that focused that you don't have that moment where you're like, well, I'm doing this with Robert De Niro. I mean, come on, I'm a human, and it's intimidating.
Did you hit him with any of like his quotes? Like he starts talking, and you're like, "Are you talking to me?"
No, that I will not. That I'm, because I think any advice to a young actor, don't do that with a star because you're pretending like you're not starstruck, and so the first sign of starstruckness is to quote him back to himself. That would have been a death sentence. So I'm like,
top tip of the day: don't quote famous lines from an actor to that actor while you're working with that actor.
Totally, absolutely. Any bit of advice before I die. That's it.
Now, obviously, we're coming towards the end of 2024. We're in the final few months. Is there anything big you got planned that's coming up that you can share?
Well, this movie is the biggest thing for me on the docket. I've shot an indie film, a wonderful film a few weeks ago in Colorado, and I've got another fun film coming up in a few weeks in New York. It's a sort of a small independent feature, so it's fun to go from sort of the big budget thing to the small budget thing. But nothing big on the scale of Smile. So for me at the end of 24, Smile's the thing. And I hope that people are still watching it at the end of the year.
I'm going to watch the first one and this one and have nightmares, and Mitch will laugh at me when we talk about it. I'm the only person who can be scared by a kid's video game spider suddenly appearing on the screen.
All right, you're going to enjoy this. I kind of hope you're miserable. I hope you're miserable. It means that film works.
Well, thank you, Peter.
My pleasure.
But yeah, Smile 2 comes out October 18th. That's
right around the corner.
Friday. So tune in to see Naomi Scott, see Mr. Peter Jacobson in their starring roles in the film, and let us know what you think.
Or let him know what you think. It's his movie.
Well, that'd be great, yeah.
All right, we don't want to keep you any longer on your Saturday. We just want to say thank you so much for sitting down and talking with the two of us on our little pokey podcast show.
Totally my pleasure. I hope you guys like the movie, and thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. This was it for Entertain This. I'm Tom.
I'm Mitch.
And our guest was Mr. Peter Jacobson. We'll catch you on the next one.